All right, it's that time for us to bring somebody very special onto the power seat. Kagiso Mavuka, CAN South Africa MCOM Taxation, is an executive director at KPMG South Africa, specializing in the mining and energy sectors, where she brings together technical expertise, strategic leadership, and a passion for people development. In a role, she works with complex organizations across critical industries that shapes Africa's economy and energy sector. She's also a member of the Divisional People's Team and the KPMG Network for Women. Kagiso holds a Master of Commerce in Taxation and is currently pursuing a master's degree in energy leadership, reflecting a commitment to contributing meaningfully to Africa's evolving energy landscape and the development of future-focused leadership. She's an alumni of the International Women's Forum South Africa, having completed the Duke CE and Facet Executive Development Program under the 1000 Women Initiative. She currently serves as co-chair of Young Leaders Connect, where she plays an active role in leadership development as well as mentorship. Kagiso, welcome to the show. How you doing?
Good evening, Tish, and good evening to your listeners. Thank you so much for having me. It is a privilege to spend this bit of the evening with you and your listeners.
You sound totally accomplished, and I'm happy that you are spending quality time with us as we empower women for the month of August. So let's begin from the top. Impact that transforms. What does that mean to you? And why is it the 26th Ideal Leadership Summit title for the year?
Thanks, Teach. So just a bit about Young Leaders Connect, YLC for short. It is an initiative of the International Women's Forum of South Africa, which is part of a global organization. It was relaunched in August of 2020 by Mamzanele Mbeki and a group of accomplished South African women who asked themselves the question, who will we pass the baton to? And our mission at YLC is really simple: to nurture and empower the next generation of ethical young women leaders and entrepreneurs. So every year we bring together a cohort of phenomenal young women from different industries and backgrounds. We expose them to mentorship, leadership conversations, entrepreneurship, board leadership, and various other opportunities. But for me, YLC is really about pouring into other women, sharing what they know, opening doors, and creating opportunities for the women coming behind them. So when we look at impact that transforms, we were quite intentional in looking at what we want to drive the year with. And impact is really about what changes because you were there. Did somebody see themselves differently? Did an opportunity open? Did you leave something better than what you found it?
Mm-hmm.
And it's quite personal because YLC has transformed my own journey. I came in as a mentee, and today I have the privilege of serving as co-chair. So impact that transforms isn't just a theme. We've lived it, and now we have a responsibility to equally create it for others.
Fantastic. So I read an article the other day that says that women in 2026 are a totally different animal from women back in the 90s and the beginning of the millennium. Now, with this AI era, is empathy, courage important for women in business?
Oh yes, certainly. But I think it's important for everyone. You know, there is a huge drive by companies for everyone to be using AI. But one thing that we've come to learn is that AI is quite powerful, but it certainly cannot replace our humanity. So it will give us the information, but ultimately, leadership still requires empathy, courage, and judgment. So, what we need to do as women leaders, we have the opportunity to embrace this technology without losing the very human qualities that make people trust and follow us. And I mean, if we just think about empathy, it's one of those leadership characteristics that cannot be underestimated. And it will become so much more critical to have that characteristic, especially in the era of AI. And just another point, interestingly enough, part of our summit, we have a flagship great debate, and we have one of our topics interrogating whether what will come out stronger. Will humanity be the ultimate competitive advantage in the era of AI?
Yeah, quite interesting. So, what made YLE decide to shift from Vision 2025, Empowering the Future, to Vision 2030, Harnessing Collective Power?
So when we were at Vision 2025, Empowering the Future, we were building. And now what we're merely doing now is we're building on empowering the future. We've spent the last few years building this incredible, incredible community of women. And Vision 2030 is now asking, what can we now achieve together? We know that there's power in numbers. And now it's really about harnessing our networks, the skills that we have, influence, and turning all this collective power into sustainable impact.
Yeah, so what are the measurable outcomes for YLC under this vision by 2030? What do you think you will have achieved in the next 4 years?
So in the next 4 years, Teach, we really want to see real movement. We want to see more women progressing into leadership and boardrooms, more sustainable women-owned businesses, more young women reached through our student chapters. And we want to see more women reaching back to bring others forward. Because really, beyond the numbers, the real question is, are women's lives and trajectories changing because YLC exists?
Yeah, so looking back since YLC's relaunch in 2020, which impact numbers are you most proud of? Mentoring 550 young women, governance training, or entrepreneurship support?
Sure, Teach. If we think about all the milestones that we have reached as an organization, every single number has a different story, has a different journey. So it's so difficult to single out to say, we are proud of this particular number. We're definitely proud of all the numbers, but most importantly, we are proud of the women behind them. I know personally what it means to be mentored, but to also have other women believe in you, you know? So when a mentee becomes a mentor, or you have an entrepreneur that grows her business, or a woman that steps into a boardroom, that's when the numbers become real. And that's why I say we wouldn't pinpoint a particular number, because of the work that we do is across entrepreneurship, board leadership, student chapters. So certainly all these numbers and everything we have been able to achieve over the years makes us stand back and look at it and say, we are definitely proud of all the numbers.
Yeah. How is setting up 5 tertiary student chapters change the way YLC reaches and supports young women in South Africa?
Yeah, this is quite an important one for us, you know, because it allows us to reach women much earlier in their journey. So when we established the student chapter, the vision behind it was that the IWFSA has established YLC to pass the baton to, and created that bridge for us to be able, you know, to then occupy their roles at the point in time where they are then not there. Then we realize equally so, there are other young women coming behind us, and these are the women in universities. And that is why we established the student chapters, because we want to be the bridge between university and the professionals. So what we've also come to learn as YLC is that your exposure can become your limitation. And sometimes all a young woman simply needs is to see something different, you know, meet someone different or enter a different room, and then realize that actually this is possible for me too. So we establish these chapters for that very purpose, so that young women can see the possibility that exists beyond where they currently are.
Yeah. So, what roles do mentorship and sponsorship play differently in helping women advance into leadership, and how is YLC addressing both?
Yeah, so mentorship gives you guidance, and sponsorship gives you access. A sponsor is someone who's willing to say your name in a room you're not in. But what's important is that your work must also support their words. You want someone to confidently say, I've worked with her, I trust her, she's ready. And that's powerful sponsorship. And YLC addresses both because we expose the young women within the organization to mentors who ultimately become their sponsors.
What were some of the most honest conversations that came out of some of your past Ideal Summits, and how did they lead to real reaction that is meaningful to these young women?
Hmm. So we've spoken about a number of things. We've spoken about ethics, we've spoken about leadership, entrepreneurship, access, what women actually experience in the workplace. But I think what is most rewarding is always watching what happens afterwards. We have seen so many women grow in confidence, find the courage to take steps towards dreams they had been sitting on, and come back to us and say, something shifted for me at that summit.
Yeah.
The light bulb went on. And for me, that's real impact when you're sitting in a room, immersing yourself in all these conversations. And what happens is that when a conversation doesn't just end in that room, but becomes the beginning of someone else's life.
Yeah. Some say that, some of the conferences a lot of people hold these days is just a meeting place. People have coffee and cake, and after that,
Mhm.
there's no change. How do you design a space that encourages frank engagement and gives proper response and reaction to the problems we're facing today?
Yeah, so when I think about that, I actually think of an author which I'm quite fond of, Dr. Brene Brown, because she speaks so powerfully about vulnerability. And we at YLC have had the privilege of being in the presence of some of South Africa's greatest leaders. We have experienced some of these leaders demonstrate that by sharing not only their successes, but their real stories and lived experiences. Because as you grow, as an individual in your leadership journey, you can't be what you can't see. So
Yeah.
when we are in these engagements, we have leaders who are always willing to be so vulnerable, and it actually gives other people permission to be real. That's when the honest questions come. That's when the real
Mm.
learning happens. And we've learned that there is true power in vulnerability. And we're quite fortunate that the women leaders whose shoulders we stand on understand that so well because they lead us with so much vulnerability that we learn from them honestly.
Yes, indeed, Karis. How old is YLC this year, and why is it important for this year's program to specifically honor the women pioneers?
So YLC is in its sixth year,
Hmm.
and we are celebrating our sixth annual leadership summit. Why it's important, as I mentioned, just now, is that we stand on the shoulders of giants. And if we think back to the women of 1956, they honestly couldn't have known where their courage would lead, but they stood for what they believed in. And generations of women have benefited from that courage. So
Hmm.
many of us today are still first in our own right. So honoring the women who came before us also asks something of us. It asks us, whose path are we now going to make easier because we were here? And
Hmm.
for that reason, it's very important to remember where we come from and really honor the women pioneers who went first.
Yeah. Okay, so thank you very much for a very mindful and dense conversation. And if people want to get in touch with you for more info, how do they get in touch with you?
So people can follow us on our social media platforms. On LinkedIn, we are Young Leaders Connect. On Instagram at YLC Ideal. On TikTok at YLC Ideal. Similarly, on Twitter, we are also at YLC Ideal. So please do connect with us, follow our pages. We very often put out the various initiatives that we do. And if people want to get involved, they can just reach out to us. We're always happy to have people who want to partner with us. Thank you so much, Tich, and thank you so much for the opportunity and the privilege to share all about YLC and the work that we do.
Doing brilliant stuff. Thank you, and we hope to see you soon.
Certainly. Thank you so much, and good night.
This right here is African Diaries, and when we come back, we educate Africa, courtesy of Dr. Sanele Gamede.